Welcome into a live Locked On Lions squad show. Jake Riepma, Natalie, Kerwin, and Bradford Banta excited to talk off-season Lion news and information. Natalie, Kerwin, plenty to dive into.
Yes, I wish we had a little camera inside Allen Park right now to see if Mike McDaniel's in the building yet. He's supposed to be getting interviewed here today, so I'll see if I can contact some of my sources. See if he's in on what is it, 222 Republic Drive. Bradford, help me out here.
That's it.
The address right? There we go.
So, but all I got to say, guys, 4th in scoring, 5th in offense, and still home in January. It's Detroit football. It's productive. It's promising, but it's emotionally exhausting.
One pride. It's the Lions Squad. Everything Detroit Lions every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Motor City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From the roar of the Lions to the next great chapter, the Lions Squad Show starts now.
Tuesday, January 13th, 2026. Welcome one, welcome all. It is a live Locked On Lions squad show with Jake Riepma, Natalie Kerwin, and Bradford Banta on the number one sports podcast platform, the Locked On Podcast Network. What a show we have lined up. If you're new around here, we have a lot of fun on the Locked On Lions squad show. You never know what twists and turns. We got a little outline for you. You know, who will be this team's next offensive coordinator, maybe some potential coordinators leaving again. Well, at least they're interviewing for head coaching jobs. We'll toss that around. Jeff Rieger of 97.1 The Ticket will join us later in the program. And Natalie, Bradford, Nat, I'll start with you, as we often find out wherever else the show may take us. You never know.
You don't know. You know, that's the beauty of this. Is just we'll start with one topic. It'll lead to another. Then all of a sudden we'll start giving each other crap about something. Another topic will come up. I mean, that's the fun of doing a podcast and a show here. So, and we love when guests come on and give you crap, Jake. That's maybe the highlight of it. So, you know, last week when we had Zach on here, that was amazing. Zach Clark, you know, we had a ton of fun with him, and he's your old buddy, and it's just great when we start off the show with some sort of roast of Jake. So sorry, not throwing you under the bus already, but a lot of the guys we get on here are your pals. So if we get one of mine on here, I mean, I'm sure it'll start the same way. So I'll get my time, I'm sure. Bradford, same thing, but Jake's had to be the guinea pig a little bit with this. So.
No, you know what? He'd been the straw that's been stirring the drink. As far as guests go and all that kind of stuff, which is great because Jake, this is, we've been working together for the last 6 months, I think it is. You know, the first time we met. I believe first show was in July, somewhere around there. Natalie, same thing. It was the first time we met, and it's been a true pleasure to get to know the two-dimensional Jake Riepma and Natalie Kerwin. But at some point, we got to get three-dimensional here, and we all got to get together with the families, and Papa Kerwin definitely has to come out.
Yes.
And everybody just go and have a good time. I mean, you know, you stop and think about it. I mean, Natalie's sitting here getting her airline miles. Jake is off to like Utah skiing around along with Natalie. And, but then once you turn around, you think he's going out west. You think he's going skiing, maybe at BYU, somewhere around there. You turn around, he's just singing country roads over at Morgantown, West Virginia. You just never know where my man is going to be. Or he could be back home lassoing the steers down at the cattle yard in Arlington there. So look, I'm here in Detroit. Yes, I'm still here in Detroit. We got the same background.
I think he wants an invite, Jake. He wants an invite on our travels.
Yeah, I think we can make that happen. Well, I'm
pleading with you right now. Well, with both of you.
There's more logistics with Nat since she's, flying private and everything. And I'm just, a pagan in commercials. So it's real easy. We can make that happen. But
look, I don't know if y'all do you watch Landman?
Yeah.
You watch Landman?
I've seen a few episodes. I haven't.
Okay.
I know
so Nat, I know you get shuffled, not shuffled. No, gosh, no. No, you get driven up to the red carpet to get onto your private jet. So, but I see these guys that get out in landman that protect. So Nat, if you ever need somebody, I'll be there for you. I mean, I'm 6'5", 200, plus pounds, something like that. I can look menacing with sunglasses on. So I don't have to smile.
Sunglasses.
That's right. That's right. I'll wear that oversized jacket, and I'll probably put like a I don't know, let's just say like a hand towel or something in my jacket just to make it look like I'm carrying something. But I can look menacing if you need me to. So I'm just throwing it out there. I need something to add to my LinkedIn page.
I was just gonna say if Locked On, you can do one and the same. Have a couple of different things going on, just like the Lions have a couple of different things going on. Hire in potentially their next play caller, at least their next offensive coordinator, and Kelvin Sheppard was reportedly interviewing for a head coaching job with the Miami Dolphins. So that is where we will start. We'll also talk to Jeff Rieger about those exact same two topics and whatever else we get to. But I wanted to begin with the offensive coordinator side because that's something we know is going to happen. We know this team needs to hire its next offensive coordinator. When we met last week, Mike McDaniel had just been fired by the Miami Dolphins, and he still is getting some interest as a head coach around the National Football League, or at least potentially as a head coach. So just starting point there, Bradford Banta, do you think Mike McDaniel, obviously he's made his mark in the NFL as an offensive minded guy, play caller. It seems like he'd be a perfect fit for the Detroit Lions, but if an NFL team is out there that wants him to be the head coach, as he's interviewed for a couple of different head coaching jobs, that would obviously, you'd think, just human nature wise, still be his first choice.
Couple things you have to sit down and honestly think about here with the Mike McDaniel interview. One is, how many head coaching interviews is he going to have? And that's going to become public knowledge. We know he's already interviewed with the Browns, correct?
Yeah, and I think the Titans. Has
Titans,
he
yeah.
4 teams already? Browns, Titans.
Maybe Atlanta.
Yes, them too.
Okay. So and maybe one more. Has he interviewed with them already? That's the question I have. So we know who he's interviewed with, with the Browns, Titans, those, all that. So he gets those out of the way. Now he hasn't heard anything. Does he come in for the second interview with one of these said teams, previously mentioned teams? If that happens, the possibility of him becoming an offensive coordinator starts to shrink just a little bit. So unless Detroit ends up making an offer that he's like, God dang, this is a pretty good offer. I see what we have on the offensive side of the ball. I can make this happen. I can make this work. I can rectify my career and put myself in position to go where I want a couple years down the road, i.e. what Ben Johnson did before he got the Chicago job. And Ben Johnson had 0 head coaching experience prior to the Chicago job that he took. But he waited a year whenever his name got really, really hot. But what he was waiting for was a quarterback. That's what Ben Johnson was waiting for. A young quarterback that was talented, because he's already done his homework on it. He already did his homework on him. And that's something that Mike McDaniel is going to be looking for down the road. Now, can we mine the nuggets from his mind to put together an offense that is explosive on a week in and week out basis, given the personnel that he has to deal with? And I'm talking primarily Jared Goff. So that's and this is where, because Mike was on staff with Sean McVay out at the Washington Redskins. I mean, you look at those pictures of back then, and this was, oh gosh, was it 15? No, it wasn't 15. It was like 13. 12 or 13, somewhere around there, 2012, 2013, because I got to the Redskins in 14. So they were, and Sean was the only one left because I believe Kyle Shanahan brought Mike down to Atlanta whenever he got the head coaching job down in Atlanta. And so, and Mike would call Sean in this instant and be like, hey, how did you, what did you think about Jared? Which I'm sure they've already had these conversations in years past, but how do you mold your offense around a quarterback? I just came from a quarterback that was mobile, and now we have a quarterback that's not mobile. How did you mold your offense around it? And I'm sure they've already had these conversations. So Mike, I would imagine, already has a very good idea of how he can make things work with Jared Goff.
I think, a lot of Lions fans hearing that Mike McDaniel was even going to be interviewed here, everyone is so stoked just about the idea. Like, I cannot believe, the Lions, it would be dumb if they didn't even try to get him in the building, to even just, get him in front of Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, Sheila Hampford, just to see if it would be of interest. And as you said, Bradford, and Jake too, with head coaching jobs open and a lot of them, everyone's going to try to go after a guy like Mike. And is it more enticing to be a head coach than an OC? Yes. But what Detroit has to offer is also enticing, and the pieces that he would have here, right, to be able to play with and put together. And again, an offensive minded guy. I think that, I think he'd be able to be really creative here. I think I was a little hesitant last week when we talked about would you put all your chips in to try to bring him here? I just had some hesitations at first as far as a culture fit, because I just think of some of the ways that he is. We talked about it last week, the joggers,
the sunglasses,
all the things. I'm like, is that something that, Dan and Brad want here? But
hey, man, you be you.
Right. That stuff is so minute compared to the overall package that he'd bring. And I think if he came here, he'd be all about yes, let's bite some kneecaps. Let's do this thing. He's, we've seen how he is in his press conferences and what he was able to do, especially with the Dolphins, in his first season. And his story too is crazy, guys. I know we didn't hit on it last week, but just when it came out, a few years ago, when he really came on the scene, the fact that, remember, he was a ball boy with the Broncos. I don't have it all put together, right? But he worked his way up. He's got this grinder mentality in him. And I just feel like he's got what it takes to, be someone that fits maybe the system here. And so we'll see what happens. If the Lions are able to land him, I think the fan base would go absolutely nuts. So we'll see what happens. But I think he could be a good fit here. The more that I've thought about it the last week and the success that he has had in the past, the coaches he's worked under, when you lay it all out.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. Sorry, just to jump in on that same note with the story. I remember watching the Hard Knocks episode, the in-season Hard Knocks, and the ball boy stuff and working up the ranks and everything like that is fascinating. And I was really compelled and moved by what he overcame addiction wise. He had a lot of struggles with alcohol. I forget the number of years, but hasn't had a drink in so many years because it cost him to miss a meeting one time. And he said, never again will I put myself basically at risk. And obviously we're getting really deep into it now, but point being, I do think that even though the Dolphins struggled his last year, there's some good that he could bring to the Lions. And Bradford, to your point, I think it's a brilliant point about reestablishing yourself as, what you can bring as a coach in an offensive coordinator role in an environment like the Lions that has an established culture that he can essentially fit into and not have to be the face of for maybe a year or 2 years. Because I did see the comment here that I want to mix in. That if we get McDaniels, would he be here next year if he gets in a head coaching offer? It would probably be a stepping stone, and nobody knows how long that timeline would be. But fact of the matter, and point being, I think it could be a really unique win-win-win situation for McDaniel, the Lions, and everybody involved.
And look, I'm just going to be a realist here. And are we going to get him? I don't know, but I would be more excited if I walked into a convenience store knowing that I had the winning numbers to the lottery and being able to put those numbers down on a lottery ticket and then walk out of there saying, you know what, whenever you leave this building, Mike, you're going to have a contract in hand and we want you to sign it. So I would feel a lot better about that. So, that I think, and I think we all think collectively along the same lines, is he would be choice one to bring into the building, given the weapons that we have, and be able to put together a consistent offense. And think about it, is as long as he's in lockstep with Dan, if this were to happen, if he were to take the OC job here in Detroit, if he's in lockstep with Dan on what they want to get accomplished, on how Dan foresees the offense being run, then that just takes one thing off of Dan's plate to where he can get back to being the CEO of this football team instead of having to worry about what the next play call is going to be.
And I think we can all agree that's when Dan has been at his best. But we can also all agree that Jeff Rieger can add a little spice to this conversation, which is exactly what we will do next as soon as he finishes the last mic adjustments in his fancy studio. I mean, I can tell that might actually take a while. So let's take a quick break. Jeff Rieger joins us on the other side. Don't go anywhere. It's the Locked On Lions Squad Show.
Can't wait to see it.
Hey, this episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is brought to you by our good friends over at Indeed. Have you ever tried to hire someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit? You know how important that is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, you got to trust Indeed and their sponsored jobs. Are you hiring? Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs puts your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. They've got the algorithm figured out. Okay, I added that part, but they probably do because their jobs show up at the very top. And if you need to hire someone for this show, I'd go straight to Indeed and be very specific about what you need. I don't know why that's added. We don't need anybody else on this show, but if you want someone with real experience, not just a resume buzzword wizard, Indeed helps you find the right candidates. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. So spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners to this show get $75 in sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. Just go to Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. That's Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. All right, joining us now from the Detroit Lions flagship radio station. He hasn't had sugar since early December. He's been hitting the gym. And folks, if you're watching on YouTube, you can tell.
Can I flip you off?
Jeff, another set of curls. Rieger, my man, what's going on, dude? Looking good. Have you cut out sugar?
Unbelievable. How you guys doing?
You're in the car again?
Again.
Listen, I am not like one of. Listen, I'm looking at Bradford Banta. He's got the beautiful sign behind him. Natalie, you got the antique bookcase. I mean, Jake, what the hell's going on back there? That's a mess back there with all the bobbleheads. I don't have any of that stuff. My wife is in the house. I got no place to myself. It's my car. But I do have a nice little glass on me. It's a nice gloomy day in Detroit.
I was just going to say,
the
natural lighting is just superb. What about Olive? I mean, she's old enough now. She should have her own home office, some kind of setup.
She does. I don't. She's at school though. Yeah. She's 10. She has an office. I don't have an office. Listen, it was between the car and the bathroom. Where would you guys rather I be?
You made the right decision.
I think the acoustics are better in the car. That's just me.
I would say so. I mean, maybe I could get a little closet time potentially, but that's about it.
Yeah, we love that. And after the show, you could come out of the closet, and then we would have a whole new announcement. So there you go. But speaking of
very good at setting people up, aren't I?
Yeah, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take the bait every single time. But the Lions have some decisions to make and some announcements to make as it relates to their offensive coordinator, Jeffrey Rieger. I know you're boots on the ground, a hard-working journalist, and you would not be like that Jacksonville journalist that would compliment the coach. I know that's not in your vocabulary at all. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, can we talk about that really quickly? I know you guys want to hit on Mike McDaniels, but I saw nothing wrong with what that woman did. If there was a question, ask a question. I have no problem.
Ask a question.
Liam Cohen, you're a good-looking man. Do all great season, but why did your quarterback choke when it mattered the most? How about that? Ask a question, right? That's what you're there to do. Ask a question.
Rieger, I wouldn't expect you to not understand the standards of journalism like myself and Natalie Kerwin with journalism degrees would understand. I had no problem with it, but time and place, the press conference, probably not the best spot for it. But I do crack up at the Big J Hardo journalists that were like, deadline. It was 19 seconds, guy. If 19 seconds cost you your deadline, then you got to work on your writing skills. But time and place got to be a little bit better than that. Nat, weigh in.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, what she said, nothing wrong with it. I thought it was very sweet. The time, where it was said in front of everybody, no, I don't think you should do that. I think if you have a good relationship with the coach, good rapport, that's something you would say maybe off to the side when the press conference is over, hey, great season, had a joy covering you this year. I mean, whatever. I feel like that's something you just say off camera. That's not something that you do in front of everybody.
It reminded me of Rieger's press conferences with Matt Patricia. I couldn't get him to stop complimenting Matt Patricia. And then the Lions PR would call me hey, get Rieger under control. He's being way too nice to Matt Patricia. But Bradford.
I one time asked Matt Patricia if he was going to get fired. Everybody else was in Chicago. They were all stuck there. I was literally the only guy at the press conference. And I'm like, Matt, you're off to another rough start. Do you envision yourself losing your job? And after that, he learned my name. He never knew who I was before that. And then he knew my name. And one time I was walking into the facility and Matt Patricia was on the phone. He stopped, said whoever he was on the phone with, hold on a second. He gave me a big bear hug. And he's like, we'll be in there in a second, buddy. And 7 days later, he got fired. That's my Matt Patricia story.
One of many.
Jeff, the one thing that I always respected this about you, you're never afraid to ask the tough questions.
Oh, thanks.
Any press conference with any coach, whatever, you always go in there and say what's on your mind, what the people want to know. And I respect that about you.
Thank you, Natalie. It's very nice. Very nice.
Because not everyone's like that, so I don't know, but.
Yes, most people are liked.
Yeah, we need to put an end to this complimenting of Rieger because he's getting.
Please. I'm very uncomfortable.
Yeah, Natalie, I don't know if this is the time or place. Yeah, I don't know if this is the time or place to be saying these kinds of things.
All right, I'll let it go.
Yeah, take it offline, like the Jacksonville.
I was going to say, am I starting to sound like the Jacksonville reporter? I'll let it go. She's rubbing off on me now.
Natalie, you can say those nice things to me, but you have to ask me a question. That's all.
Yeah. Okay, then I'll start with a question, Rieger. I think you're great at what you do, but if the Lions land a name like Mike McDaniel, What do you think that would do for the organization? How likely do you think that is?
It's a big
Isn't
J
that
right
the dream
there.
candidate, right? Like, and aren't most Lions fans hoping, following the Mike McDaniel's tour, that he doesn't take a head coaching job or that he's not offered a head coaching job? Because he seems like he'd be the prototypical best hire for the Lions OC. Not only is he smart, I mean, Jake knows all about this. He went to Yale. He played football at Yale. Not only does he have the great pedigree, hanging out with the Shanahans, Mike and Kyle, but you love his offense. But more than anything, and I heard Bradford talking about this before the break, and that beautiful Jake Riepma live read that we just heard. You're absolutely right. Like, Dan Campbell needs to turn over that side of the football to a coordinator. And we saw it last year with Ben Johnson and the year before with Ben Johnson. And listen, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I don't think Dan did a good enough job last year. And then you add the play calling duties and the fact that he had to pretty much fire John Morton when he was still actually employed. And I think other parts of the game kind of took a hit. I think McDaniels could take ownership of that side. He's an innovative mind. He's great with players. He helped Tua. Tua and Goff are kind of similar as far as really good accuracy. The only thing I don't like about Mike McDaniels is towards the end, he gave the vote of confidence to Tua, and the organization kept him around. That's probably a check minus. Everything else, it's hard to be against the Mike McDaniels hire, and I think most Lions fans kind of agree.
I'm with you, Jeff. Here, I got one thing for you. So, what do you think the one storyline is that you think the Detroit fans are underrating right now?
For the Lions, you mean like
yeah.
You mean like as in not they think it's more important than it really is, or the other way around?
Everybody's talking about McDaniel's story right now. What is, what do you think should be just after the McDaniels or the OC hire? What's the next big storyline you think?
Do whatever you can to fix the offensive line. Right? Yes. I would say do whatever you can, because listen, once you get your OC, whoever that happens to be, you're not going to go anywhere unless that offensive line is fixed. And I know people wanted to give Jared Goff every pass in the world this year. Oh, he was better this year than last year. And you gave Goff. Oh, you're one of those guys, eh?
Oh, yeah.
Jared Goff not to blame for what happened in Minnesota in a must-win game. Jared Goff not to blame in the other elimination against the Commanders. But whatever. Goff is fine. I don't think there's any question about it. And when you can run the football, he's even better. But we saw what happened with all those offensive line combinations. And we saw without Frank Ragnow, and on most games, Taylor Decker dealing with the shoulder and young guys at guard. Do your best to fix the offensive line. Can it happen? I mean, look what Chicago did in 1 year, but they also have a heck of a lot more money than the Lions. So I would say do whatever it takes to go out in free agency, trades, what have you, and fix the O-line.
Rieger, we haven't dove into this yet collectively, so we could do a little roundtable, just like we all did, weighing in on our opinions on the poor Jacksonville Jaguar reporter that complimented Liam Cohen. But
she's a 20-year vet, Jake. She's covered every big story in Florida. I did the deep dive on her. Nice lady. Just ask a question.
We're going to keep going back to that. But speaking of, some major appearances nationally, how about Aiden Hutchinson on the ESPN Sunday NFL Countdown show? I don't know if you guys caught his comments. I want to say, this is great radio here, great podcasting. I don't have a huge opinion on this, but I was a little turned off-ish on the amount of time he spent attributing the lack of Lions success to the injuries. And it seemed like, that's a factor. And, we can play the semantics game between where the injuries, are you making excuses for the Lions' poor performance defensively, or are you in fact attributing part of the shortcomings to the injuries as a factor? So where did you stand, Rieger, on Hutch's comments? And if you missed it, basically said, that was a big part of the defense's lack of success was the amount of injuries they had, which is true, but something about the leader of the defense just sitting up there on a big platform saying, hey, we're going to be better next year. And they kind of hinted at it without coming out and saying all of it.
Well, first of all, gorgeous suit. His suit was just beautiful.
Yeah, the pinstripes. Are pinstripes still in?
That's a good
You're a
looking suit.
resident fashion insider. Are pinstripes still in?
I don't know if I feel like I've started to see maybe a little more pinstripe. So even if they're not, he rocked it.
He did. He looked great in the suit. But no, I kind of feel like you, Jake. I see both sides. On one side, I say to myself, really, Hutch? That's the issue? Go look at the Niners. They're one game away from the NFC championship, and they lost George Kittle in that game against the Eagles. They've had injury after injury after injury, and they're still living in the postseason. So I don't think you can blame injuries, despite the fact that, man, that defense has had so many of them. But on the other side, like, what's he supposed to say, right? He's not going to come out and say, I got to tell you, man, Rock Ya-Sin sucks, right? And Thomas Harper blows. Like, he's not going to say that either. So I do believe it was the most PC thing to say. Like, yes, we got to get healthy. And when we get healthy, like, yeah, the defense should be better. I don't think he's going to come out and say, dude, we're paying Lee McNeil all that money, and have you seen that lack of production? Or DJ Reed, this guy couldn't cover my mother. Like, I don't think he's going to say any of that stuff. So while I understand people are upset because maybe he could have said, I got to be better, he still had 13 and a half sacks, right? So I kind of feel soft because I see both sides.
Yeah, I feel like I see both sides of it too. Like, you have to take ownership of what happened this year. Like, injuries are going to happen, they're bound to happen, but you have to be able to say, listen, we didn't play up to our standard this year. And I think, this also ties into, we haven't hit on this yet either, but what Brad Holmes talked about as far as addressing who's going to be across from Aiden Hutchinson next year in their process about that, and basically saying they're going to take the same approach they took last year. So I'll go right back to you, Rieger, on what you thought about that as soon as, Brad Holmes basically said, we're not going to do anything different. We're going to go about it the same way.
So the press conference started great. Brad Holmes is like, I take accountability. I was able to get a question in. I'm like, hey, Dan Campbell gave himself a freaking F. What do you give yourself? He gave himself a failure grade too. So I thought he gave the accountability that a lot of fans wanted. But Natalie, you're absolutely right, because that question happened probably towards the end. And I think it was Justin Rogers from and he said something to the extent of, like, what do you do at edge? Because they're probably going to lose Muhammad. They can't afford him. And they didn't really go out and get the big name that fans really want. And for Holmes to say nothing's going to change, we'll just find somebody opposite of Hutch. And then he said it, and we all knew he would say it. How many teams have 2 double-digit sack guys? As if that whole narrative, we're just lucky to have Hutch, and nobody has 2 Hutches, what he said earlier in the season. So we'll judge him by his actions, obviously, but he was doing so well until that comment. And then the other comment I hated too, while we're on it, was, well, we really tried to fix the offensive line, guys. He was talking about Frank Ragnow and how they couldn't replace him. And of course, he's an all-pro center, impossible to replace. But to say as an executive, we tried, you don't get credit for trying. That's your job, to try. Like, that's baseline minimum, right? To try. So I didn't like that either, but I did like some of the accountability.
Riggs, you always bring the A game, my friend, and we appreciate that. And I think I found.
It. Well, I was going to say, Bradford, did you get a chance to listen to the presser too?
I did not. No, I did not. But I was able to read about it, and it was interesting with, just with Brad's comments. And you just talk about the same approach, and that gets brought out, and people, you pull what you want, and then you can spin it how you want whenever you put it out into, the World Wide Web. And people are making a big deal about that. And there's a lot to be said with what's going to transpire over the next few months here. And I firmly believe that. And we'll see what happens. But Riggs, I wanted to ask you. So if you could ask Dan one question about the OC search, what would that be?
you want to find somebody to call plays, or do you want to call plays by yourself? Like, I do wonder if, and I think he thinks he can call plays, and I think he thinks he'll get much better at it. And he did at times. I think, of course, when you lose a guy like Ben Johnson, you're going to take a step back. So I wonder how married to that idea that he is. And he hasn't really said that he's not going to call plays, but we're all kind of assuming, since they reached out to Mike McDaniels, which, by the way, we give them credit for, because he seems to be the best OC possibility on the board. So I want to know how much he really wants to call plays, or just hand that offensive side of the ball, he's an offensive guy, over to somebody else. But here's the other thing I really want to know. Now, Brad, in this example, is he being honest to me? Are we giving him the truth serum?
You damn right we are. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
But
all right.
And here's my response to you.
Yeah.
Is, you bring up the fact is, does he truly want to call plays? Well, I would tell him just to make one phone call. Call the coach out with the LA Chargers, the head coach. Because whenever he was at Michigan, yes, Jim Harbaugh, whenever he was at Michigan, when did things start truly turning around? After the 21 season. After
sorry.
Oh, welcome to college football, Rigger. Jesus. I mean, do you want the McDonald's bags? Say, look, I was on staff then, so be careful there, pal.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
You're right.
I can tell you that right now. But Jim actually he was a better coach whenever he was the CEO of the team. And he handed those reins over to somebody. And it's already been proven here in Detroit.
Well, Bradford, let me ask you this, because why I asked you, would Dan Campbell be honest with me? And this is a tad trolly, but do you think Dan Campbell truly misses Ben Johnson to the point where Ben almost made Dan and not the other way around? And because Dan has struggled to hire OCs. He hired Anthony Lynn, didn't work out, hired John Morton, didn't work out. Ben, give him all the credit in the world. He gave him that responsibility. Ben kind of fell into his lap. He was a Patricia hire, but he knew Ben from back in the Miami days. I wonder, if he's being honest, how much of a devastating blow was it to lose Ben Johnson? And I'd be so fascinated to see what he had to say about that.
I would say, truth be told, yeah. No, and I'm not saying that Ben made Dan at all. I'm not saying that.
And I hear you. But maybe that's a bad way to put it.
He assisted with the development of the Detroit Lions to get where they got the last two seasons, whenever he was the offensive coordinator. And that it was just a great combination. It was a combination of all these things coming together all at one time, and then all the cylinders were clicking. And going back to Hutch's point was, injuries. Well, buddy, you had injuries the previous two seasons as well, and you seem to bounce back and make something happen. So, give me a new narrative. So, but I just think that having been on staff and just with his offensive mind and his offensive acumen, I think it definitely helped Dan be a better head coach, because that was just one less thing he had to worry about.
Now, I have another name to bring up to you, Rieger, and we haven't hit on this yet, but tomorrow in Allen Park, the Lions are interviewing Mike Kafka from the New York Giants. So, if you guys remember, that was almost a near upset in Detroit, and Jameis Winston looked like a god. They put up 500 yards of offense on us?
They did.
Which is crazy. So I just want your thoughts on that possibility as a hire too, if Mike McDaniel doesn't work out. He's an option as well.
Is it wrong to say that I have all my eggs in the Mike McDaniel's basket?
Me too.
Is it wrong?
A lot of people do.
Why don't you get out and check in your trunk?
Trust me, you don't want to see what I got back there, Brad.
All right.
Oh boy.
No, but no, I'm kidding. Just golf clubs. Yeah. Anyway, but no, I don't hate that name at all. But I do wonder, because of the McDaniels thing, and because of we know that Dan has not really hit on an OC that he's kind of hired before, unless you're going to count Ben Johnson, which of course you could. Like, I almost want it to be as fail-safe as possible. And the Mike McDaniels name to me is exactly that. And I also love the fact that he's willing to take these OC interviews. Like, he is interviewing for head coaching jobs. And he doesn't seem like a Kevin Stefanski, who I don't think wants to be an OC again, right? Like, he's going to find a head coaching gig, and anything else is probably below him. So while I don't hate the name, I think I'm in love with the guy that's in town right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well put, my friend. And hey, we know that studio time is precious, and probably somebody else is gunning for the studio time at the moment.
Expensive.
So yeah. We'll be respectful of that studio time. But
I have a great view. There's some garbage cans over there.
You probably got to get to the gym too. You said you haven't worked out yet today, and you know that muscle isn't going to keep building itself, man.
We done there?
You can't give me that kind of ammo, man. But no, this has been awesome. And we're definitely going to be hitting you up, hopefully, for more off-season episodes, because not just one weekly show, but 2 weekly shows here on the Locked On Lions Squad show.
Nice.
Yeah, there you go. The number 1 sports podcast platform. I got to say that every single segment. So, Riggs, good luck. Any golf plans coming up?
Going to hit the sim tomorrow.
All right.
And we're gonna this is the year, guys. This is the year.
Where are you going? Riggs? Where are you going?
X Golf down the road. Do you golf, Bradford?
Yeah, I do.
You don't want to golf with Rieger. I'm just going to jump in.
Oh, no. Hang on. They don't answer for me, Jake. Look,
I'll get your number for him, Jake.
Yeah. I'll get your number from Jake. I'll get your number from Jake.
Bradford, what do you shoot?
Generally, I like ducks and geese. I like to shoot those. But whenever I play golf, I don't know, somewhere around mid-80s. Whenever I'm playing.
Oh, geez. You're going to have to give me strokes. Are we going to gamble?
Listen, I will say this. Rieger is far and away the most fun to golf with. You just have to be aware at all times, aware for your safety, because this is not even a joke to be funny. I almost got my head taken off by a flying driver that he slammed. And if you're
let it go already. Nobody wants to hear your whining. Okay.
And maybe one more. Maybe you'll also get paired with a pastor like we did one time. And Rieger, that's probably the number 1 story. Rieger's just out there just dog cussing the world. And the guy next to me is like, could you tell your friend to maybe tone it down? I'm a pastor.
Listen,
I did not.
Real quick, they were very nice gentlemen that I don't think ever want to see us again. But Jake and I are golfing. They paired us up with these 2 guys. To my defense, I suck. And I get frustrated and I yell swear words at the top of my lungs. And how was I supposed to know the guy was a man of God? Like, honestly, he definitely thought less of me.
And then later in the round, he's like, do you talk in front of your daughter like that?
Well,
no, that's why I do it here.
Oh,
it's a tough world out there. You need to get ready for it.
That was an all-time round.
Like, honestly,
so yeah,
but honestly, guys, before I go, like, do you trust anybody that doesn't swear? No,
it's true.
Yeah,
we all fall
want to
short.
swear. Are you allowed to swear on this?
Yeah. Get after it.
Try.
No. Listen, I get in the doghouse with Locked On enough, so I'm not going to voluntarily put myself in the doghouse with Locked On. But Rieger, this has been awesome. Let's see if I know how to do this. Remove from stage. There we go. All right, there he goes. Jeff Rieger, 97 won the ticket. Kick from studio. Oh, cool. I can kick him. I can legit kick him off. There we go. See ya. Riggs. No, that was awesome. We went a little long, so the next 2 segments will be a little bit shorter, but always great conversation right here on a live Locked On Lions Squad show. Hey, this episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is brought to you by our good friends at Quo. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business.
Hello. Nat, you there?
Yeah. Where's Jake?
I tell you what, you're on screen right now, Nat. So we're going to take it over for right now and let Jake relog back on.
Is this the Natty K show now?
This is the Natty K. So what you got for us?
At least we can hear Bradford.
Yeah, I know. So I'm trying. Well, I'm going radio on you here. So
yeah, this is our radio guest, Bradford Banta here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, but I do appreciate it. So no, I'm glad. So who here has the jet tracking system to know whether Mike McDaniel is in the city? Do we know if he's in the city or not?
I feel like someone is always on top of that in the Twitter world. I feel like there's always someone that can go on those apps or those websites, that tracks like, oh, there's a private jet that landed at the Detroit airport at this time. It's got to be Mike McDaniel, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Because I could see them. I mean, I'd say definitely not flying commercial. I know that for a fact.
No.
Especially coming from Miami. And then you also think about the Miami tie, right? There's a Miami tie there with Dan having previously been on the Miami coaching staff, talking about Dan Campbell. So you have ties with ownership there to where Dan could possibly call Mr. Ross and figure out, hey, what did you think? And then but also what are some other names that you see floating out there, Nat?
Well, so I mentioned Mike Kafka. A few of the other names that I've seen the Lions talk about, let's see, from the Seahawks, their passing coordinator, Jake Peets. Have you read about him yet?
You know what? I was actually on staff with Jake.
Were you?
At the Redskins. I sure was.
Okay, let's hear about him. What's your experience?
Yeah. No, so Jake, very stable, awesome. He's great guy. He was actually, I believe, the assistant quarterback coach whenever I was on staff at the Redskins. He has ties to Nebraska. He's coached there. He's been around the league. It all comes from the Shanahan tree, pretty much. And
which
Jake,
is a good tree to come from,
right? No, it's a great tree to come from because Jake has ties to McVay. Whenever McVay got the head coaching job at Los Angeles, then he brought Jake out with him to be part of the offensive staff there. And then Jake then went out on his own and then got back into the fold. And I think being up in Seattle at this present time, I think he's I haven't talked to Jake in a while, but it's, it all depends on how he and Dan would mesh just for that, for that job as the offensive coordinator. What do you know about T. Martin?
He was the other name I had heard as well from the Ravens quarterback coach. Yeah. And from what I read, I mean, obviously he's got Lamar Jackson to work with. So that's a big deal, even though Lamar didn't have as great of a year as he has in the past. Very much a fluke year for him. Now, granted, he was injured for a chunk of it, but for this guy, T. Martin, I mean, I read he's a good motivator, high energy. So you already think, okay, this is a guy that could fit in the culture here. But I also read that the one time that he has been a guy that's called the plays as an OC, I believe it was at the college level, he got stripped of play calling duties. So that's from what I read this morning. So again, granted, that was a long time ago. And it, again, that's one situation. It might be very different now that he's here in the NFL and it's, he's got more experience now, but there's something to say for that. But he's got experience now, right? Working under John Harbaugh and working with a guy like Lamar Jackson. And, you think about the relationship that could be built with Jared Goff if they did hire a guy like that. That's a big point that comes to mind is, will this OC be able to make a connection with Jared? Because one of the things I felt like we all agreed on with John Morton is that he didn't have that with Jared. And I know we're not in the building to see the inside relationship, but it felt that way. And from some of the quotes and things we heard from the locker room, it felt like they never had that. So that's what I've heard about T. Martin, but what have you heard as well?
Yeah, I know for a fact, just college experience-wise, he was out at USC, and then, he was a former quarterback at University of Tennessee.
Yeah.
So, and that's where, he was there as well. And I'm not sure, it may have been USC where he called plays, and I
think it was.
Yeah, and it was whenever Clay Helton was the head coach at USC. So, so we'll see. I think he's probably choice D
maybe, right? It's like Mike, like Mike McDaniel, Mike Kafka. Jake Peets. Oh, and there's Jake Riepma.
And then Jake Riepma.
How about him? He's in the mix.
I have no idea what happened. Thank you.
I know. I didn't even tell the viewers. Sorry, guys. He lost Wi-Fi for a bit. So Bradford and I were running the show, but we didn't go off the rails. I thought we did pretty good.
I thought we did good too. You know what? Here's what I'm willing to bet that Rieger's right outside your place, and he went and unplugged your Wi-Fi.
That would not surprise me. I wouldn't put it past them. Those guys were always sabotaging me at the ticket back in the day. So that would be the least surprising thing of all time. So yeah, I'm not really sure what happened there. All of my internet was working fine, just not StreamYard. So not that we need a deep dive on IT or anything, but did the old restart, and here we are. So what did I miss?
Well, it's happened to me a time or two, Jake, when my laptop's totally tweaked out. So it's happened to all of us. All good. Yeah. Let's see. What did we get into there?
Yeah, we were talking about additional offensive coordinator.
Yeah, the Rose was leading the show. All you could hear was Bradford's voice. It was like a solo radio show, essentially.
I love that.
So
I love that.
Yeah. We were starting to dive into the two other candidates that have come forward in the last few days for the Lions as well. Jake Peets, the Seahawks passing coordinator, and T. Martin, the Ravens QB coach as well. So what have you heard about those guys, Jake?
Well, T. Martin brings me back to my childhood with the Tennessee Volunteers, national champion 1998. I remember going to a game in the checkered end zones. But that probably has nothing to do with how he calls plays. So that being said, and I'm probably repeating stuff you already said, but Bradford, doesn't T. Martin have his ties to USC?
He does.
There we go.
So nothing like retreading information. I love it. Way to go, Jake.
Thank you. And that exactly what you guys said. So there you go. Let's do this though, housekeeping wise, since we've just been all over, on point with every single check mark and every single benchmark we're supposed to hit for a show. I'm assuming we didn't do our last commercial break, right? There's still a couple there.
We did.
I know what commercial I want to do. Yeah, I know what commercial I want to do, but is it in the cards? I don't know.
It's not in there. No more Mazda. No more Mazda, and no more of those other ones either. I think the last one.
I know which one. I'm not going to say it.
Yeah, let's.
Jake? If you weren't going to be resurrected with the, getting your Wi-Fi back, I was just going to do some commercial. Like some sort of read, because I know we'd have to. I was going to say, make sure we'll the audio version for sure will be uploaded. Like I was gonna make sure we hit on every single point, right? Like
well, we know that's the biggest one, that audio version. If there's anything else you can count on in life, it's that audio version will be available.
Number one podcast platform, all the things. I would have tried my best.
Nat, that's why you're a consummate professional, a pro's pro. You get it. But all right, we'll wrap it up in just a second as soon as we hit these last couple here. Don't go to our Locked On Lions Squad show. Today's episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is brought to you by Gusto. That's right. Listen up, my friends, because it is that time of year. It's always that time of year with Gusto, because when you need all the help you can get, let's be real, no one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in, to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one remote-friendly payroll HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or hidden fees. Unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price, which means no surprise charges at the end of the month. Gusto's automated tools like offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposits save hours every single week. Knowing you can reach certified HR experts anytime gives you the real peace of mind. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/lockdownnfl and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right, 3 months free payroll at gusto.com/lockdownnfl. One more time, it's gusto.com/lockdownnfl. Today's episode is also brought to you by our good friends at FanDuel. All right, the wild card round has come and gone, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts, and you can apply those to any bets you'd like. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boost you want to apply. The boosts let you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. You make your picks, then you apply your profit boost and go even bigger and go for even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL game day. All right, final segment of the day that will be 5 minutes or less, and that's how it goes when you have Jeff Rieger on. Sometimes segment goes a little bit long there, so apologies, but hey, sometimes we beat to the sound of our own drum.
I got a good question to end kind of the show, so to speak. Kelvin Sheppard getting interviewed by the Miami Dolphins. What do we think?
I have my 2 cents worth less than that. So Nat, you go first.
Oh, you don't think you have a good take on it?
It's not that it's a bad take. It's an angle. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I don't know what to think. It's just funny that the Lions are interviewing Mike McDaniel, and then who came from the Dolphins, and then the Dolphins are interviewing Kelvin Sheppard, and then it's just this big Lions and Dolphins tree right now. It's just interesting. I don't know. I'm not sure what it tells me, because he has one, year under his belt as an official coordinator. He was the linebackers coach for 3 or 4 seasons with the Lions. And I think there's mixed reviews amongst fans on how successful he was this year. I know we've talked about it, injuries definitely played a part. But I don't know. I don't know if he'd be anyone's first glaring choice, because he's not a proven, a proven vet of any of any kind. So I don't know. I was a little shocked, I guess was my first reaction. But I guess what's your take on it, Jake? I'm not sure how to feel about it yet when I saw it.
Yeah, that's a good place to start. I was surprised. I think Kelvin Sheppard does and brings so much to the table that you can't find in a lot of coaches. And former player, relates with players. I know I've said this time and time again, the footage from Hard Knocks where you see how hard he coaches players, but at the same time with a level of respect, and checks a lot of boxes that I think down the road, I think he'll be a great head coach. Now, and this is the part where I'm going to calculate my words and the way I present it and make sure I articulate this correctly, because I can't say enough good things about Kelvin Sheppard. But two things can be true at the same time. I don't think the body of work is to the point that warrants a head coaching job yet. Not to say that he won't be that in the future. And I worry, and this is not a Kelvin Sheppard problem, this is an NFL problem with the Rooney Rule. I worry that because of the format that the NFL forces teams to follow with the minority candidate, that's a part of the conversation here, and that they have to force this interview and check a box because the NFL forces it. And that's not to take anything away from any African-American coach, because there's a ton of them in the National Football League that have paved the way and been tremendous. And Brian Flores, we know the history there. What a damn good defensive coordinator he is. We experienced that firsthand in the game against Minnesota on Christmas. And so I think sometimes when this rule gets brought up, the listeners, I'm saying, have the tendency to say, oh, Riepma's running his mouth about the Rooney Rule. And it's more of just the conversation that forces teams' hands to have to, because that's what the definition of the rule is. You have to interview a minority candidate. And unfortunately, I hope this is not the case. I hope the Dolphins have real interest, but the body of work for Kelvin Sheppard would not suggest that he's quite yet at that level to warrant a head coaching job yet. Not to say that he can't get there. So it's a lot of, and that's why I want to make sure I said that correctly, because I don't think it's a knock on Kelvin Sheppard, and it's nothing against minority coaches. It's the NFL put a rule in place to force that as a part of the interview process. So I hope I said that okay.
Yeah, I think you said that just fine. I think you explained it perfectly. I mean, Bradford, what's your take on it as well?
I'm getting out ahead of the Brian Branch comments. That would be
you try.
I got you. No, look, there is a possibility that Shep will be a head coach sometime in the future. I chalk this interview up as experience for what is to come down the road. It's going to be a learning experience for him. I believe it's his first one that he has gone through, just to make sure, all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed. And I think it's going to be a good experience for him, but he will be back next year as Detroit Lions defensive coordinator.
We shall see. Well, I don't know. $1 million question. It's like, will they go? I mean, if he does somehow get plucked away, I guess, will the Lions still somehow try and look in-house, out of house, like they are for their OC?
We'll be right back to where we were last offseason, having to hire two coordinators.
Right. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. 2 seasons in a row, you guys. That would be an interesting position to be in. So
I think Shep will be a head coach someday. I don't think it's in 2026 for the Dolphins.
I don't think so either. I don't think so either. Right. To your point, his resume isn't long enough yet. I mean, I feel like to be even considered. I mean, he is being considered, but I just feel like to even have a chance, I feel like you have to have some sort of proven success, and just 1 year as a coordinator, I just don't think is it. I feel like he'd have to go somewhere else and be a coordinator again and have success there. And then that's just my thought, but I think we're all on the same page.
Or multiple years. Yeah. Multiple years. You said that, but yeah. So, all right. Per usual, the Locked On Lions squad show, we worked through it. We're on the same page. Also per usual, this episode had some twists and turns. I lost internet. Rieger was in his car per usual, and you guys heard some Jeff Rieger golf stories. So it doesn't get much better than that. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, that's why I love this show. I'm just having fun. We're just having fun with it, guys. We're making the off season a good one. So
I can't wait to see what Friday holds.
Friday this week, people.
Oh yeah, great housekeeping item. That's how we're gonna end it. Nat,
good job, Bradford.
Yeah, shout out. It's on my little planner, but I had not said that yet. So if you enjoy watching the show live, which I hope you do, because I might lose internet or something crazy might happen. Friday at noon, same time, just one day later. And as always, the audio version of today's episode available wherever you get your podcast on the #1 sports podcast platform. For Bradford Banta, Natalie Kerwin, my name is Jake Riepma. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time on the Locked On Lions Squad Show.